Hello everybody, UFC Wildcat here,
And I'm Powder Blue Bolts.
and this is our final episode. Very sad. We've been through a lot together.
It's bittersweet.
Bittersweet, but we'll make sure to do more. We'll find something else that everybody can enjoy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
But we're starting off today with the Discover BCS National Championship game.
We are finally here.
Finally, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and the Alabama Crimson Tide. We're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to do a few things differently, and it's going to be kind of a longer episode, especially since the national title. It's going to be one of the bigger games, and I hope everybody will enjoy this one. So we're going to do a season recap, and I'm going to start off with the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. They have had a very weird season in my eyes. A lot of things have felt like it's either some divine right or just the fact that something more is happening. Something
Like
is happening. Like destiny. Something is happening for this team. They start out the season, they go to Dublin, Ireland. I know Brian Kelly, the head coach, wasn't really feeling that. They didn't really want to have to go all the way to Ireland to play Navy. They felt it was kind of like a distraction and everything. But they win 50-10 against Navy. So no complaining there. Great win. The next week they come home to play Purdue, and it's a very tight game, and it's very scary. Quan Short had a really good game against the Irish, but Notre Dame decided that they put in their last year starter, Tommy Rees, to fill in for Everett Golson, who was struggling a little bit, and Tommy Rees came back and won the game, and that's when they deemed Tommy Rees the closer for the season. And it was really something that really perplexed me. I did not understand why you would do that. Take your starting quarterback out and flip-flop, because that doesn't bode well for your season. But next week they go to Michigan State. They win pretty handily there. They win 20-3, and things are looking great. They come home to play against the Michigan Wolverines. Very tight game throughout. And again, they do the little closer thing with Tommy Rees, and Notre Dame wins 13-6. Manti Te'o has a phenomenal game. I think he had either 2 or 3 picks in the game. Something crazy, something amazing for a linebacker, and that's kind of where the Heisman talks for Manti Te'o started. Then they go to Chicago, I think it is, to play Miami of Florida, and they win. They kill it. Just an amazing game. They win 41-3. But then they come home to play the number 17th ranked Stanford Cardinal. And this game is close as can be. You know, I think this game they also did the Tommy Rees thing, where they put Tommy Rees in to help try and win the game. He completed a late touchdown pass to the tight end. Name slipped me. Tyler Eifert. Yeah, it slipped me a little bit, but I got it. So they scored, but the game ended very controversially because Stephon Taylor, the Stanford running back, looked like he got in. They reviewed it and said there wasn't enough video evidence, but as we've said before, we think Stephon Taylor got in. Didn't you think so?
I think so.
That was one of the games that was a question mark, and again, another one of those destiny type of things that I felt. Then they play BYU, again, another really close game. They win 17-14 at home, and right there, they go to Norman, Oklahoma. This is the game. If Notre Dame is going to go undefeated, they win this game, and their only other challenge the rest of the way would be USC in the Coliseum at the end of the season. They go into Norman, and they play a fabulous game. They shut down Oklahoma, and Manti Te'o has another Heisman moment, gets a pick late in the game against Landry Jones on a pass that's kind of batted up in the air, and they win 30-13, and it looks like smooth sailing the rest of the way. Somebody didn't tell them that the Pitt Panthers were going to come to South Bend and give them a hard, tough test. Pitt takes them into triple overtime, and in the third frame, the Pitt kicker lines up, kicks the field goal, and all day we were watching the game. I know it was on I think it was on our Halloween, or it was close to our Halloween night, because something happened that Halloween was moved.
It's postponed because of snow or coldness or
something. Something had happened. They postponed Christmas, or not Christmas, but Halloween.
Storm. It was.
It was a storm or something. So the Pitt kicker in the third frame of the third overtime kicks the ball, and all day he was kicking field goals, and they were curving in, curving in. For some strange reason, the kick was kicking, and it never curved. Just went right past the right upright, and it was no good. Again, another one of those Dusty things. Notre Dame drives in. Everett Golson gets the touchdown, and Notre Dame wins it in a thriller. Or they drive it, and then they kick a field goal. Notre Dame wins 29-26 in 3 overtimes. Their next 2 games, pretty easy wins. They beat Boston College 21-6, and then Wake Forest 38-0. Then it's the date with the condoms, or as most people would know them, the Trojans of USC. And as we mentioned before in our Hyundai Sun Bowl preview, Lane Kiffin decides inside the 5, 4th down, instead of kicking the field goal down 9, to try and play action with Max Wittick to try and hit the fullback, and the fullback drops the ball, thus leading to Notre Dame getting the ball up 2 possessions still, and they basically just end the game right there. Notre Dame gets the win 22-13, and here we are. They are in the national title because they are undefeated, the number 1 team, and a lot of credit goes to them, but it's time to do a little season preview for Alabama, and for that, Powder Blue Bolts will definitely hit you up on that.
Yeah, Alabama entering the season, defending their national title that they won last year, entering the season ranked number 2, having an opener against the previously number 9 ranked Michigan Wolverines. And at that point in the season, everyone thought this was going to be a great game. You know, Michigan's supposed to be on the up. They're supposed to be really good. A lot of people thought they'd win the Big Ten. This is supposed to be a really good game. And then Alabama kind of rolls over them 41-14.
Yeah, Alabama showed up.
Yeah, they showed up. And then Denard did not show up. And Michigan was not at that game. And then Alabama plays Western Kentucky. And as you can probably predict, 35-0 Alabama rolls over the Hilltoppers. And then Alabama faces an early test going to Arkansas, who a lot of people thought they could compete for the SEC title, maybe a national championship, because they entered the season actually ranked 8th.
They did.
And then a lot of people think, oh, maybe this would be a really good game. Alabama crushes them 52-0, and that kind of spelled little dismay for the Razorbacks as they had a really, really poor season. And then Alabama goes to Florida Atlantic, gets them at home, wins 40-7. They get Ole Miss at home, win 33-14. By this point, Alabama's ranked number 1. They go to Missouri, win 42-10. Go to Tennessee, win 44-13. Alabama's rolling, and everyone's saying, oh, here they are again. I remember watching Game Day during these weeks, and they would highlight a bunch of teams, and then they'd be like, oh yeah, and Alabama won. Here they are again, making it look easy. And then they get Mississippi State at home, beat them 38-7. Alabama's just rolling through their schedule. It seems like they're destined to play in the national title game, destined to repeat as national champions. And then they get a real true test going to Death Valley in Baton Rouge, facing the LSU Tigers. It's a tight game all day, back and forth. But then, with only a few minutes left, I think it was like a minute and a half left, A.J. McCarron snaps the ball and hits T.J. Yeldon for a late score to go up 21-17 to beat the number 5 ranked Tigers in Baton Rouge. And then, the next week, facing another test, a new SEC opponent in Texas A&M, getting them at home, facing who would go on to win the Heisman, Johnny Manziel. He's having a great game. A&M's hitting everything. They're just playing almost perfect football. But then Alabama has a chance to win late. But it just does not work out for the Crimson Tide. And they lose as the number 1 ranked team, 29-24. The next game they get West Carolina, beat them 49-0. They get their rival Auburn in the Iron Bowl, which is usually a good game. Has been an amazing game in the past. Crush them 49-0. By this point, Oregon and Kansas State had both lost. And after the A&M game, people had thought that Alabama may not play in the championship game for the first time in a long time. An SEC team might not play in the championship game. We might get to see Oregon or Kansas State lose. But then they both lost. So Alabama, just like that, they're right back in it. They have a date with Georgia, the number 3 ranked Bulldogs, in the SEC title game. It was a great game, back and forth all day. Like I said, 2 defenses that are really, really good. But Alabama did prevail, although Georgia could have won the game very, very late in the game, had a drop pass that, like we've said in the past, Aaron Murray has nightmares about, can't sleep about, because they could have beat Alabama and gone to play Notre Dame in the national title game, but didn't go the way for the Bulldogs, and here we are, Alabama, Notre Dame in the title game. It was like two tradition-filled schools going at it.
That was really good. I really like doing that.
I like
that. Was very nice. That was nice. Giving you a little heads up for those of you who aren't big football fans. Definitely, if you're football fans and you have people watching with you, I think this would, at least the first part of this video would be really good to give you a little synopsis for your friends who are not that into football, but to give them a little storylines. Now we're going to go into like in depth about it. We're going to go team by team. We're going to talk about each. We're going to talk about each core position, and we're going to decide who's got the better of each position. So we're going to start out with the quarterback position. We have two very good quarterbacks going at it. Everett Golson of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. This kid, he's got 2,135 yards passing, 11 touchdowns, but does have 5 interceptions. Everett Golson has really grown up. He's matured a lot this year. And I think that he has been phenomenal. He's a redshirt freshman, so he's going to be there for years to come. I think Everett is really a reason why Notre Dame has been winning the last few games. You know, or like I said early in the season, they kept trying to put Tommy Rees in, trying to have the little closer role. But then Brian Kelly decided, we're going to push it off. It is all you, Everett. You lead us to victory. And he has done that. And it's very good. But on the other side, we have another quarterback for Alabama who is phenomenal.
Yeah, a lot of people think he's almost NFL ready, and some people are talking about the Heisman. A.J. McCarron. This guy's got 2,669 yards on the season, 26 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions. So he's having a very, very good year for the Alabama Crimson Tide. They've always had good quarterbacks in the past to kind of lead their offense. And I don't know. As far as who has an edge this game, I don't know. It kind of all depends on how the defenses of each team play. I know Alabama's had trouble with mobile quarterbacks, and Golson's very, very mobile. I mean, as you saw against A&M, I mean, there's not a more mobile quarterback than Johnny Manziel in the country, and he just kind of shredded that defense for a lot of yards in the air and a lot of yards on the ground. So Alabama has had trouble with a quarterback that can move.
Yep. So I think for me, I think the quarterback edge, I'm leaning Alabama. Because I think A.J. McCarron has more experience. He's been in this role. He's been in the national title. Just last year he was. Mm-hmm. Led them to a victory. And remember, last year was more, when they went to the national title, it was more of a, A.J. McCarron's just going to be a supporting cast, just don't mess up, kid.
Yeah.
This year, A.J. McCarron's looking to lead the Alabama Crimson Tide to a national title. So, yeah, I think we're both leaning Alabama at this point. Now let's go running backs. You want to hit on the whole rushing game all in general. You want to hit up on that?
Yeah, I mean, for Alabama, the rushing game, they kind of have what we like to call a two-headed monster in Eddie Lacy and T.J. Yeldon. I mean, Eddie Lacy having 1,100 yards on the year with 16 touchdowns, and Yeldon finishing the year with an even 1,000 yards and 11 touchdowns. I mean, either one of these guys you hand it off to, you're going to get positive results. They both average over 6.5 yards per carry. I mean, these guys are just ground and pound, traditional football. I mean, old school, just put your helmet strap on and just, go right in between the tackles. And these guys aren't afraid to run you over. They're just like the Trent Richardsons and the Mark Ingrams of the past, just big power backs. And I don't know, either one of them can be a really, really good threat for the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. It's definitely, Alabama is sort of coming to their own being running back you. But if we go to Notre Dame, they also have a little two-headed monster. Definitely nowhere near Yeldon and Lacy. But Theo Riddick, a very good running back. He's got 880 yards on the ground, 5 touchdowns. You got Sierra Wood on the other end. He's got 740 yards and 4 touchdowns. Both these running backs are they really complement each other well. Theo Riddick's kind of a sort of a powery type of back, but he's also got some finesse. They definitely like to split him out at wide receiver sometimes because he played wide receiver last year. And, they put him in the slot and, get him running some, shallow routes and stuff. Definitely really good. Sierra Wood, on the other hand, he's he's the more prototypical halfback, and he does really well in this offense. So, if we're going to give a lean to anybody, I think again I'm at least leaning Alabama.
Yeah,
Yeldon.
slightly.
Alabama has Yeldon, Lacey. Again, experience. While Yeldon's fast, young, very new to the scene. Both of them will work really, really well. So again, I think right now we've got quarterback Bama, running back Bama for the time being. Now we're going to do the whole receiving core, including tight ends. And Notre Dame has a few very, very good. As I said before, Theo Riddick, very good if you put him in a slot role or if you want to throw him outside the back or out of the backfield. But their big receiver, TJ Jones. This kid doesn't really have the stats to be all productive, but he's got 559 yards receiving and 4 touchdowns. This kid, if you need like a few yards, something quick, he's always open. He always makes the big plays on those 3rd and longs every time I've watched Notre Dame this year. Definitely look out for this TJ Jones fella. But number one target, the biggest safety net for any young quarterback is the tight end position, and Tyler Eifert is probably the best tight end in the nation.
I agree that he is.
Phenomenal. Out of this world. He has 624 yards. Again, not putting up the prototypical stats, but Notre Dame's offense really isn't the upper echelon, but they do get the job done. He has 4 receiving touchdowns on the year, and whenever they're in the red zone, they are looking for this kid. They can just chuck it up, and he'll jump up, and he'll, make the play for you. But Alabama has a few good wide receivers as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, Amari Cooper having 895 yards on this season and 9 touchdowns, and this guy will burn you. He's a good outside receiver, and A.J. McCarron is going to look to him in the receiving game, along with Kenny Bell, who has 431 yards on the year and 3 touchdowns. They like to spread the ball around at Alabama so much. I mean, they're not afraid to hit their running backs, their tight ends, their wide receivers. I mean, they spread the ball around, and a lot of these guys get touches.
Yeah. If we're going to do an edge battle, though, Notre Dame wins this hands down. Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Tyler Eifert is another animal. Amari Cooper is good. He's got the speed, but he's raw. He's a young talent. He's raw. He's still got to come to his own. TJ Jones is, I think, a better receiver than Amari Cooper, at least running his routes and getting open. Amari Cooper, though, you take that speed like in the SEC championship game where they run that play action off the post, there's no beating that.
Mm-hmm.
What about you? What do you think?
I agree that Notre Dame has an edge. I mean, as far as a tight end battle, yeah, Alabama uses their tight ends just like any other team does, but Notre Dame relies on their tight ends. And like you said, once you get into the red zone, you look for Eifert, it's almost 6 every single time.
Yes. All right, we're going to now go to the offensive lines. Really quick on this because, I mean, I just really think that this is a really big battle. Notre Dame has a really experienced offensive line. They have 4 seniors on the O-line, including Zach Martin and Mike Golick's son, Mike Golick Jr. Martin on the right tackle and Golick on the left guard. These guys are really good on the O-line. They are definitely the anchors to this O-line and definitely a fiery force on the offense, help a leader. But if we go to Alabama, you want to highlight on some of their linemen?
Yeah, I mean, we've got, Anthony Steen, DJ Fluker, Chance Warmack, and Barrett Jones. And Barrett Jones is really the anchor of this offensive line. I mean, Alabama's always had a really good offensive line. Like I said, played old-fashioned football, protect the quarterback, run the ball, and play good defense. And Barrett Jones, when it comes to protecting the quarterback, is better than anyone else in the country.
Yeah, for sure. If we're going to do a lean here, I think just by the slightest of margins, I'm going to give it to Alabama. Barrett Jones is a phenomenal leader on that O-line, and he's been there a while. Definitely think that he is the heart and soul of that O-line. And Notre Dame's is big, but again, slight lean to Alabama and their O-line.
Yeah, and I will hit on something, though. I mean, you do have to protect A.J. McCarron because he's not as mobile, and he needs more time in the pocket to create big plays and to create opportunities. But when you have a quarterback that's as mobile as Everett Golson, you don't need to protect him as much because he's going to create those plays on his own, and he's going to get out in the backfield. He's not afraid to take the ball downfield and get that first down when he needs to. So while, yes, Notre Dame's offensive line might be a little less good than Alabama's, they don't need to be.
Alrighty. Now let's go do the... we're going to go to the defensive side of the ball, and we're going to start... These groups are going to be kind of compact together. We're going to start with the defensive lines. Now, for Notre Dame, they have 3 amazing D-lines. Some people have said one of the best D-lines in the national or in the NCAA. We're going to start with Capron Lewis Moore. This guy plays the end position. He's really big, 300 pounds, 6'4", and you got to watch out for this kid because he's been there a while and he's really good, getting really accustomed to that 3-4. But if we go look, Stephon Tuitt, this guy new to the scene, a sophomore who's 6'6", 303 pounds, and he's been wreaking havoc since Navy, just like crazy on the D-line. And we'll also look at the D-tackle Lewis Nix, 6'3", 326 pounds. Watch out for this D-line. Probably one of the best at getting pressure on the opposing quarterbacks and definitely stopping the running game. Because I remember for a while, Notre Dame had not let up a rushing touchdown up to BYU.
Yeah.
So you got to watch out for that. And they are actually one of the best goal line defenses too. Definitely have stopped a lot of people on the goal line, and a lot of that goes to this D-line. But let's go to Bama. What do you think about their D-line? Not a lot of big names.
Not a lot of huge names. I mean, they kind of just get the job done and don't really make a name for themselves. But you look at Damian Square, Ed Stinson, and Jesse Williams. I mean, these are two seniors and a junior, so they're experienced. Like you said, they've been in the national title game last year. I mean, Alabama's just kind of cycling through defensive players because a lot of them play. Then they go to the draft, so you got new names every single year. But these guys are solid. I mean, Alabama's got the number 2 defense total, and they don't give up a whole lot of points. And these guys are just going to be forced to be reckoned with when you're talking about as far as the defensive line. They're going to be trouble for the Notre Dame offensive line.
I think for right now, huge lean Notre Dame defensive line.
I agree.
Huge lean. But like we said, Bama, on their defensive side of the ball at least, they really aren't a team that's going to be a lot of big names. They have C.J. Mosley in the linebacker position, and they have D. Milner in the cornerback position and Robert Lester at safety. Other than that, it's a lot of guys filling in the system, doing well for them. So now let's go to the linebacker position. For Notre Dame, they have Danny Spahn, they have Prince Shembo, and then Dan Fox, all very good linebackers. But Heisman Trophy finalist, almost was the first pure defensive player to win the Heisman in Ncaa Te'o, 6'2", 254 pounds, and a senior. This kid is the heart and soul of Notre Dame football. He has put his blood, sweat, and tears. He's gone through so much trials and tribulations this year. You deal with your grandma dying, and then your girlfriend dying in the same day, and then playing the game that week. Just phenomenal. Nothing more needs to be said about Ncaa Te'o. He is definitely one of the best defensive players in the country, and he's a very good linebacker for Notre Dame.
Yeah, and I agree with you. He just kind of creates that spark that any defense needs, and just the emotional leader of their defense. And you might not see that in the stat book, but that just plays so much on the field, and that influences the game in such a way that you can't even really keep track of it, because it's just like, as far as being an emotional leader, he's there for the Irish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the linebackers for Alabama, like we said before, a lot of them are young. We have 2 sophomores and a senior starting. We have, C.J. Mosley is probably the biggest name you're going to hear.
Yeah, I think he is starting over Nico Johnson. I do not remember correctly. We're looking at a depth chart right here. We didn't really watch too much SEC football, but we know for a fact C.J. Mosley is a starter, but on this depth chart it does not have him.
Yeah, he's probably the biggest name you're going to see on the defense. I mean, this guy's really, really solid. You also look at Trey DePriest. He's actually from around here.
Yeah, from the Springfield area here in Ohio.
Yeah, and we also look at Xavier Dixon. I mean, these 3 guys are really, really good. They have that fast, they have that big and powerful SEC feel to them, and they're going to be very, very difficult for this Notre Dame offense to stop.
I think, again, we're going to go to a very solid lean for Notre Dame.
I agree.
But, again, we've said it before, players making plays in the Nick Saban defense. Mm-hmm. Now let's go to the entire secondary. I'll highlight a little bit on Notre Dame here. We got Bennett Jackson. We've got, I'm trying to remember, I think it's Josh Atkinson, who is actually starting for the Notre Dame corners. They are actually really young guys who had to come in, had to play with injuries and everything. So the Notre Dame defense is really young in the secondary position. But if you go to safeties, you've got Zeke Mata. He's been there for a while. Very good safety. 6'2", 215. Senior leader. Very good. And I can't remember who their other safety is at the moment. But he's also young. I know that. I think it might be Matthias Farley.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% positive. But again, Notre Dame secondary, if you want to know a key for it, very young, very inexperienced, but have been playing at a level that you would not notice that they are young.
Yeah, I agree with you there. And as far as secondary for Alabama, we have D. Milner and Dion Bellew, Vinny Sunseri, and like you mentioned, Robert Lester. They're a bit older than the rest of their defense, but this secondary is really, really good, shutting a lot of people down. I mean, people have a lot of trouble passing on this Alabama defense, and like I said, they're second in the nation as far as points allowed. So look for this secondary to make some plays against Everett Golson.
All right, definitely a lean to Alabama. I'm gonna say experience. You might feel that differently, but I know for me, the experience is what's gonna get me. And Robert Lester has been here a while. D. Milner has been a very good corner this year, so I definitely want to say Alabama's definitely getting my lean in here.
Yeah, I agree with you, almost purely based on experience because they're kind of almost 50-50, but I'm going to lean towards the more experienced players.
Let's go to coaches now. I'm going to talk about Brian Kelly, and I'm going to talk about some really cool things that have been going around ESPN. Brian Kelly has been at Notre Dame for 3 years. The third year for coaches at Notre Dame have been really, really good. Lou Holtz won his national title on the third year. Ara Parseghian won the national championship on his third year. And we go back to that destiny thing. Brian Kelly's third year. Undefeated. Could this be a Brian Kelly year? He's a very good coach. Coached at Cincinnati and Central Michigan. Definitely had very much success there. Brought Cincinnati back to a good power in football, at least. Mm-hmm. So I think Brian Kelly he's very fiery too. A lot of people remember the South Florida explosion that he had. But this guy really, really loves coaching, and I think he's going to do well. You want to hit up on Nick Saban?
Nick Saban is a bit of an enigma in my eyes. I mean, he won a national title with LSU, and then he went to the NFL and coached Miami. He infamously said in a press conference, "I will not leave Miami." Next thing he does, leaves Miami to go to coach at Alabama. Has a very, very good tenure at Alabama. Wins a national title. Actually, wins 2 national titles in 3 years. And then he's up for his third in 4 years. And he's actually seeking to become one of only a handful of coaches to win 4 national titles in the NCAA.
Very good.
And he's got the resume, he's got the players, and Alabama is like the powerhouse. They're the team to beat if you're playing against them.
I definitely think if we're going to compare between the NFL and college football, Bill Belichick is very comparable to Nick Saban. He is the Bill Belichick of college football, and definitely a lean to Nick Saban in the coaching department.
I would say a lean to Nick Saban as far as experience. His guys have been there before. He's been there a handful of times. He knows what to expect. But if you want to talk about, like you said, destiny, and you want to talk about the emotional leader, I would give a lean towards Brian Kelly. So if I had to choose one, I would pick Nick Saban, but I'm definitely comfortable with Brian Kelly as well.
Yes, I am. Alrighty. Now we're actually going to go to, we'll have one key to the game. This episode's actually gone really far so far.
Yeah.
Really good episode. For Notre Dame, the key is to continue that dominant defensive line play. Linebackers need to fill like Manti Te'o and Dan Fox and Danny Spahn. They need to be able to fill the gaps, stop this Alabama running game, because if you stop that and force A.J. McCarron to have to make plays with his arm, could happen. But again, you'd feel more comfortable with A.J. McCarron throwing over you than having Eddie Lacy, T.J. Yeldon running all over you all game and making the game shorter and forcing your offense to have to make some plays that they're not used to. What do you think Alabama needs to do to win this game?
I think A.J. McCarron and his receivers need to kind of exploit this secondary of Notre Dame that at times during the year has struggled, and they've given up some big chunks of yards, but they're kind of the definition of a bend but not break secondary. They've had their moments, but as far as like we've mentioned and we've touched on, they're young. They're a little bit more inexperienced than Alabama's secondary. So if you're A.J. McCarron, you're going to look to be going downfield and exploit this younger secondary of Notre Dame.
Alrighty. For the last time,
here it is.
What is your prediction for the Discover BCS National Championship game?
Depends what day you ask me, honestly. I mean, I can make a case for either team. At this point, I really don't know. It's so hard to determine. We look at Notre Dame. They've played a great schedule. They played Stanford. They played Oklahoma. They played USC. They played Michigan, Michigan State. Those are all good programs. Those are all good teams they had to beat, and they've gone undefeated. They found a way to win in every single one of these, whether it be by talent, whether it be by destiny, whatever. They found a way to win. You look at Alabama. They've played LSU. They've played Georgia. They've played A&M. Other than that, they haven't really played that many good teams. They barely won against LSU. They barely won against Georgia, and they lost to A&M. They could have easily lost to LSU and Georgia. So, while yes, they're really, really good, they only have one loss on the year, and they are the Alabama Crimson Tide, I don't see their schedule as being that impressive. So I think Notre Dame's going to come and get fired up. They've had an emotional season. They've ridden Manti Te'o and this defense, the number one overall defense, to an undefeated record. They deserve this national title. Manti Te'o deserves this national title. I think it's going to be 13-6 Notre Dame.
Cheer, cheer for Notre Dame. Wake up the echoes, cheer Notre Dame. Notre Dame is going to win this game. Like we've said before, destiny. There's something about this season. There is something going on, and I feel like Notre Dame has all the pieces capable to win. Yes, their secondary is young. Yes, their offensive line is not to the caliber of Alabama. But what they have is heart. They have destiny. They have the wind at their back. They have tradition. They know what this means. They are going to come to this game ready. Everett Golson is going to play a great game. Theo Riddick's going to be great on the ground. Sierra Wood is going to be great on the ground. We're going to have Tyler Eifert having a day. And I think Notre Dame will win this game. They are going to win 17-14. They're going to need a late drive to win this game. And it's going to put a lot of confidence into Notre Dame. Tyler Eifert with a game-winning score. Notre Dame, Fighting Irish, your BCS national champions. Yeah!
Oh, man, that got me pumped up.
That was good.
I'm excited for this game, guys. I hope you guys are as well. Like always, leave us a like, comment, and subscribe.
Definitely comment on what you think is going to happen.
If you do anything, comment about this game. This is a huge game.
This is for the last time.
No. I just want to say thank you guys for watching this series, because this has been a lot of fun. I've had a good time. I know this is our first really series of our YouTube channel, and I feel like I've had a good time. We've gotten the information out there, and I hope you guys had a good time watching.
Yes, I want to thank everybody who's been along for the ride. Definitely our friends at Tradition Sports Online. Little plug there. I'll put a link in the description for you guys to check out that site. Thank you so much for following. Remember that we want to do this. We aren't looking for any fame. We're not looking for anything. We want to give you the information so that you can enjoy bowl season the way that we do.
Yep, and like we said before, just comment on what you want to see coming from our channel. If you enjoyed this, what you'd like to see coming from us. And, yeah.
If you would like to see more sports stuff, we're thinking about doing that. Unfortunately, I'm actually going on a cruise tomorrow morning. I'm actually leaving in the morning, so
we'll have a bit of a hiatus.
We'll have a week hiatus. I've got crazy stuff going on, but we're hoping to maybe get a late NFL thing out there, a little postseason
playoff prediction. Yeah.
Yeah, but hope we can do that for you. Thank you so much for the last time for our 2012 Bowl Special preview. UFC Wildcat and Powder Blue Bolts signing out.